Hey, welcome to my gold mining 2003 part 2, which is actually the beginning because I'm going from the beginning of the year to the end. And this is back in April of 2003 when Catfish Mike and his son went out with me. And I think this is like his first time that he ever used his Highbanker or something real close to that. He was brand new back then. And yeah, he's good people. We took his son out. We found gold, just like you saw there. And this is the year that I actually started taking pictures of the gold. A lot of times I couldn't take the pictures of the gold back then because, it was all covered with mercury and stuff sometimes. So if you don't see gold pictures, there's a reason. And so, I took my old Ford Ranger down there and took it down to my mining claim down there where you saw it in the hydraulic video. And this is way back, 9 years ago. We've been going down there forever, since back in the 90s somewhere. And we set up his Highbanker. And lo and behold, we found gold right away. And I mean right away. And he was so excited to see that first nugget in there that he went ahead and pulled it out and cleaned it up. And, we had a nice cleanup right then and there. So this was the first cleanup, and we maybe only ran a half an hour to 40 minutes in this cleanup. And it was just so amazing. And just, to see the smiles on their faces was just so cool. And we did. We got really good gold right then. And so this is how I started out the year. It was really nice. We took them out. We did that first cleanup. And look at all that gold. We got nuggets in there all over the place. And they're pulling out those nuggets. And if you're looking at black sand, there's all kinds of finds. And if you look down at the bottom underneath the water, you see a little pool of gold down there. But it's gold and mercury. So, we had to take that out separate. But that's the thing. We as miners, we take the mercury out of the rivers. We take the lead out of the rivers. And here we are. You look back there, and if you go back and look at my hydraulic mining video, none of that is there today. All the rocks are gone. Everything is gone. That hole is it's just nothing but nice, pristine canyon once again. And so Mike and I, we're just down here working and shoveling, and Catfish Jr., he's down there. That's Mike's nickname is Catfish. So we always call him Catfish. Because he looks just like a catfish with that big old squirrely whiskers and stuff, Good people all the way around. So we were shoveling, and we broke in that Highbanker, man, and it found gold, I'll tell you. And we were all really happy, had a good time. And you see all those cobbles and everything all around. Well, we stacked all those there. That's what came out of that hole. And this is the beginning of the hole that we started in 2003 in April. We'd go down there before dredging season, and we would start a hole by hand, just like this. I'd go down there for a day or two and just throw rocks or throw them in the back of a truck and haul them downstream and make a, big old pile. And so this is what we're doing. We're starting the year of our work right here. And you look up, you can see the pool up in the upper half, but we had to have two pools, one to recirculate the water with. And when we did do it that way, or we like starting downstream, and right there we found good gold, obviously. That little hole right there, we were so happy with it, we just started going from there and worked it on. So yeah, I can't tell you over the years how many times I moved some of those little cobbles, but it was quite a few times. You want to usually start downstream and work your way up. Well, what happens when you're in a dry riverbed? It doesn't go anywhere. You make a pile here, then you make a pile there, then the rains come along and move it around. But yeah, Mike, we had a good time. That Proline Highbanker, it did really well. It caught the gold really well. We ended up putting, and with most Highbankers, that we see, they're store-bought. You get the air bubbles from where it blasts off all the material off the cobbles as it's washing them, and it goes down through the sluice box, and it makes it kind of hard for stuff to settle out. So what we've always done ever since, because this was the first time we ran that Highbanker, and any Highbanker now, is we always put a second sluice box behind it, and then we always get good gold out of the second sluice box too, so it just shows how much we're actually losing. And this was the end. He took his truck down there, that Dodge, and I had my little Ford Ranger that just went in and out of there all the time. And yeah, it was a good day. And in the end, we came back up to the house again and took that picture of the gold we got. Yeah, we had good gold, Most definitely we had good gold. Look on the wall behind us, and that's just family pictures. And there's a better shot of the gold right there. And that was our one day. We went out and we got that. And that's a pretty good day, for just out high banking and enjoying life. And yeah, we're out there to make a profit. And then, after dredge season came around, we went down there and we opened up the upper hole upstream, and this is how it looks in the beginning of the year. We dam it off because the water doesn't run. And then when we start dredging, we run the water out of the hole until it's completely and totally drained. And then we shut down and let it fill back up again. So if you look there, you can see the water line. You can see it's gone down like 2 or 3 inches from where it was originally, even though I'm in the water right there. And we are working it down. You can see the actual watermark on the rocks. And there's a look upstream, and there's those falls. And yeah, none of those rocks and cobbles were there. They all got washed downstream this last year. That's how we set up our sluice box. We'd go ahead and we had my 4-inch Proline dredge. And we'd set it up on 4x4s and 2x4s to get the level that we wanted. We put the motor and pump out in the middle of the hole. Then we actually had whatever length of hoses we needed. And there's my son Abraham on the left and Sebastian Teakin on the right. And they always went down mining with us. And Sebastian, he's got the wetsuit on. And there's that old Ford Ranger in the back. And you can just look downstream and see where we were. And pretty much none of that is even there today anymore. And there's old yours truly. And boy, that water level's getting down there now. Looks like Tom's in that hole. And that plugger pole that you see, that piece of Schedule 80 1.5 is the same plugger pole that I still use today. So I've been using that plugger pole for, like 15 years. It's funny how good Schedule 80 lasts, and it just keeps getting a little bit shorter and a little bit shorter when pieces break off. But that's as short as it got. It hasn't broken since then. And here the kids are eating. So yeah, we'd go down there every year and we would prepare the area that we wanted to work by moving all the cobbles off that area that we wanted to work for the year. And it might take us a couple days to throw cobbles out of the way and get it prepared. And look at the shovel handle that we have on there. All that is a piece of 1.25 inch doweling that we made it, and we wanted a longer shovel handle for easier cobble removal. So we put, I think it was a 6-foot handle on there. And there's Tom down there working the hole. Look at the water line now. It's down probably 6 or 8 inches. And we just had that old piece of roofing. We went ahead, we made a frame for it out of an old piece of an old drum. And we use that to stack our tailings. We could move it left or right or wherever and just stack our tailings all the way across the entire area and make a dam down there. And right below that big rock where the shovel's sitting is where Mike and I were working and where we were opening up that hole down below. It's funny, I look at those rocks in the background, I recognize, oh yeah, I threw that one, I threw that one, I threw that one. It's like, my goodness. Over the years, I threw pretty much all those rocks and dragged all those boulders at least twice out of the way, And the other up on the falls. And you know what else it was? Is the pool was so deep back then that the kids were actually swimming in the pool and enjoying life. And we would dam the pool up. And it was like 12 feet deep the year before. And right there, I think it was like 6 feet deep. They could go in there and they could jump in and dive and swim around and just enjoy life right out in the woods because we made that pool. Yeah, it's funny. Look at this. There's Abraham throwing cobbles out of the box. He was only 11 years old, and he'll be 21 here in just a couple months. Kind of neat how the kids grow up and do their own thing. He moved out here a couple of years ago, and here he is back then when he was just a kid. Watching that sluice box, and he moved that roofing left and right and back and forth to stack the tailings. We'd stack up that whole area and make a little dam up across the whole thing. It wasn't really a dam. I mean, it was a dam, but it wasn't holding the water. It just was stopping the water because the water goes underground. And there's not much. It's just spring runoff. But yeah, this is how we ran our box. We still run it like this today when we're booming. We have it set up. We recirculate the water. And look at that, how much lower the water is now from where it was when we started. And that's Abraham with Tom, my partner down there. And that's right at the head of where the sluice box was. We just didn't know it was there yet. It didn't show up until about the end of that year in 2003. And this is how you work in low water situations. You go ahead and you dam it up, you run the water out, and you recirculate it, and do what you have to do to get the gold out of there, because look how much farther the water is now. And all we're doing is sucking all the water out of the hole that we had, the pool that we had upstream, and getting it down to where everything is sitting on the bottom, and the intake, the screen for our pump, will run almost completely and totally out of water. But look how high the sluice box is out of the water. It's just hanging there now. And now we're getting down close to the end. And here just a few minutes ago, when we were looking at that pool when I was in there, that whole area was full of water. And the front of the dredge, the front of the power jet was actually under the water. And now it's, 2.5 feet out of the water? And here it is. We keep working on down and on down. And so the water level's down, 2 feet, 2.5 feet right now from what it was when we started out. And we would do this and let the pool empty, let the water empty out of the pool in the beginning of the year. And then we'd just shut down. So we'd run for about an hour, then we'd shut down and let it fill up. And it'd take about an hour to fill back up because it's just that little bit of water down there. But it worked out good, and we got good gold, and we pretty much cleaned that whole area of gold because we worked it really well. We would even wash the bedrock off with water and stuff, and we would get every single piece out of there we could find. And then we had to pull down below to keep the water from continuing on, so everything would settle. So we actually had our own sediment ponds and everything, and there we were done. Look at how about Tom standing in the bottom. The dredge hose, that 4-inch hose, is like totally out of the water. We'd run it down until we actually heard air starting to suck into the pump, then we'd shut the pump off before anything happened to it. And there it is, totally empty. So we'd sit there and we'd wait for an hour. This is the only choice that we had in the beginning of the year, because like I said, this is just in May of 2003, the beginning of the year, and the hole's still pretty small. So we just let it sit there and fill back up, and we'd start again. And it would take an hour or so to fill back up. It didn't happen just right away. That's a big area we had. So yeah, we had this claim here. We were working it. We had the claim over on a American Bar, on the middle fork of the American River down there at Gray Eagle that we had leased. So we were working down there too. So we would kind of split the entire year between going here, going there, going somewhere else. But most of the time we'd go either right here or we'd go down to Gray Eagle Bar and do things down there. We didn't do a whole lot down there. I had a lot of friends that had rented the property down there. I'd go down and help gold mine and work around with them and just have a blast. But for the most part, we'd come down here because this is so close to my house. It's only within 5 miles of where I live, so it makes it nice to have things that close when I can walk out my door and just drive upstream a little bit. And here we are, And here we are, just working the hole and making it bigger. We'd work those cobbles and work those cobbles. We got all kinds of gold out of there. And what we were trying to do was just uncover bedrock and get down to a shelf, because there was a shelf right there, as you can see, up behind us, and it ran down, and there was a big crack at the bottom. And we'd get down to that crack and just keep working it, and we'd get in that crack and find all kinds of gold. That whole stack of cobbles behind me and Tom right there is stuff that we put there, up out of the way, because we had worked that whole area. And then, when the dredge shut down, when we were out of water, we'd go ahead and we'd just sit there and we'd throw cobbles and move rocks and get everything out of the way. and we'd stay out of the water. So when the water, filled back up, it would come back up clean to where we could see what we were doing for a few minutes. And the clean water wouldn't last very long. But if we, watched what we were doing, we didn't move our legs around too much, we could keep it clean enough to where we could actually see. Yeah, we had good bedrock and we got good gold down there. And it was just great family fun. We'd take Tom's grandkids down there, or his son would come down with us, you know, and we were just out gold mining and enjoying life. We'd pack up the old picnic basket and take all the kids and just go spend an entire weekend. He'd come up to the house, and I had my guest house. He'd stay there in the guest house, and we'd just have a blast. And there's Abraham was actually taking the pictures. He actually got a picture of me throwing a rock with a rock in the air. And so we'd start up there in the pool at the top and keep working that down. As the water level dropped, we would continue moving back and stay just right at the very edge of the water as we were moving back down as the water was being drained out of the pool. Yeah, eventually, after just tossing the cobbles like that, we got to the point where we'd take some chain link fencing and a tarp. We'd put a tarp down in the back of the truck, a big old canvas tarp. We'd lay the chain link fencing on top of it with ropes underneath it. And then we'd go ahead and we'd just fill that truck with the cobbles and take them downstream. Oh, it was maybe 200 or 300 yards. Then we'd go ahead and there was a tree stump down there. We'd hook it up, the chains to the tree stump, and just pull the entire pile of cobbles out of the back of the truck. So, I mean, there was a lot of work involved in what we were doing. It wasn't like we were just going down there and throwing rocks here and there willy-nilly. We were throwing rocks to a certain point into a pile, then putting them in the back of the truck and moving them out of the way. Look how much deeper it is. Yeah, we'd get to where we're running out of water and the pool was empty, and then we'd had no choice but to just shut down, and then we'd start throwing cobbles. It's funny, the big old pile of cobbles you see up there on the side of the wall was actually from the year before for the most part. Here's Abraham and I dredging down there together. It's funny, we brought that Pro-Line dredge in for the first few years that I had it. This is how we used it. We never even had it mounted on the floats. And I stopped taking the floats down there. I started using my other drums because I have a setup that has the 4 drums that holds the motor too, and it works pretty good. But yeah, this is the first year of the Pro-Line, and it worked out really well, and I've been happy with it ever since. I made it into an over-under. This is back before then. The only reason I turned it into an over-under is because, well, I'd had it so many years by then. I just felt like doing something to make it better. So when I, made it into the over-under, it made a difference. We still caught the gold, and the best part about it was the gold was all being caught right in the front, right underneath the punch plate, so we didn't have to do as much separation. And there's Arkansas Steve. He came down there. We brought his Keen down there, and we set it up just like the Pro-Line. The Keen, you could see we had an extended sluice box on there. We had that DFS sluice box with a slick plate going on after the end of it, just to catch whatever fine gold we can get out of there. And we actually got quite a bit of fine gold that came out of that Keen box and went into the fine gold sluice down below. Wasn't a whole lot. Was it enough to pay for it? No, but the fact is there was quite a bit of gold in there, and it was all super fines. Because for some reason the Keen, where they have the power jet and the hose, and they got that metal piece you have to glue onto the hose, it would suck air right there, and it would cause more air bubbles to come down the box. But you know what? It still worked. And it still worked out fine. We still got gold. But yeah. So anyway, that was Arkansas Steve, and we did a lot of mining together that year, he and I. And this is in June. And there's his buddy Chris, and this is at that same time you saw came down here and did gold mining. We went over to the American Bar and did the gold mining, and it was funny when I say that Chris was actually, screaming, ah, I'm too young to die. In the last one, that is actually what he said. I mean, he was that scared. But yeah, there's a good shot of the Keen. That's in full bloom right there. And we got good gold out of there. The only problem was we couldn't take the hole down to the very bottom like we did with the Proline because it started sucking air and it would just run that entire box full of bubbles and strip it. So we'd have to shut it down a lot earlier than we did with the Proline. But that's Keen, and they made that new connection. They wanted to copy the Proline connection. It has a nice slip fitting in there, so they made their own. And I never liked the new oversized connection that Keen had. I just if you get a hole in the hose, you got to cut the hose off. You're done for the year. At least until you get home and get the new coupling glued on. So yeah, I mean, I've always been pro line because it's a better dredge. You know, Keen has the best riffles. There's just no doubt about it that they have the best riffle system. But Proline has the best power jet system. And so that was the problem. We'd get it down just a little bit below that and it'd start sucking air. It's a good picture though. Just shows how much work we were actually doing and the things we tried. And we even put the extended sluice box on there that Steve brought out, to make sure that we're getting the gold out of there. And we were. And I actually tried that on the Proline too, but there wasn't enough gold came out of it to bother keeping it on there. Because what I had done was in 2005, I went ahead and put a 9 horsepower on the Proline with an HP 500. We just crank it up with the over-under on it now and just flat out move the material through there. I mean, it would break your fingers if you stuck your fingers in front of the hose. We were moving it that fast. But man, and we were getting good gold, and we weren't losing any. I put the DFS on the back of it, and there was a few minor, the smallest micro gold that didn't get caught in the box. And that's a good picture of Steve right there. Look at the water level there. It's down like 6 inches. So yeah, you can see exactly what we were doing, and we'd lower the hole and just keep on working it. And we would do this time and time again, every weekend because we all had jobs where we worked during the week. Of course, this was our vacation. This is still when we were going to American Bar for a couple times. Did that. We came down here and did this, and we were just getting good gold and just having a blast. That's, Chris and Steve, and I can't remember the other guy's name, but I told you that. He came up and he bought that dredge. It was the exact same dredge that Dave McCracken used in his gold, how to use a gold dredge video. You know, the exact same model with the motor and everything. I can't remember the name of that motor that was on there, but they was good old motors, man. Yeah, we took quite a few pictures, And old Steve and I, we go out all the time just to have fun. We're always talking on the phone, and here he is halfway across the United States from where we are. Oh, Arkansas Steve. Yeah, I did a lot of mining that year with a lot of different people, and that was a good trip. And there's that Keen where we had it all sucked down, and it had started sucking air, and I finally just shut it off. I was getting pissed because I couldn't empty the hole out completely because it was just sucking so much air. I thought it was raping the box, but fortunately we had the other box on the end. Oh, and look at this. I bought that brand new 2.5-inch Proline that year, and this was the first time we took it out to test it. And I like calling de-virginizing it because we take it out and we get good gold the first time, and boom, and then it was a producer. And every one of my dredges paid for itself, including this one. And this is just my partner San Diego Jim and I. And this is back in the days when he lived in San Diego. He actually lives back down there again. So he would come up, for 3 or 4 days, and we'd go out mining. And we'd go here for a day, then we'd go over to the American for a couple days. And that little 2.5-inch Proline, it worked really good. That was a really good dredge. And I ended up getting rid of it just because I didn't ever use it anymore. We used it that year and a couple other years. It was a backpacker, so we would pack it in, and it worked really good, and we got good gold with it. It ended up paying for itself. And then I, sold it to Jim, and we kept it for another year or so, but he didn't use it any more than we did because we had the 2 4s, we had 5, and we had 2 6s, and then we had 2 8s. So, I mean, the 2.5 just didn't work out because after 2004, we started working over on the Yuba, where we had a full-size river instead of going down here because we pretty much cleaned out the mud hole, which is what we call this. And so we didn't have much of use for the 2.5 anymore, so we got rid of it. But that's an all. I actually bought the dredge itself without the motor and pump because I already had that Briggs & Stratton 4-horse motor with a P100 Keen pump on there, and it ran it really good. Well, we're coming up to the end of this video, and this was the gold we got that day. And you can see we get the mercury out of the river because there's mercury right there with the gold. We got nuggets, and we got gold, and we got mercury. Well, that's it. You guys have a good one. Stay tuned for part 3. We got more gold coming.